Welcome. You're listening to Entertain You. We're a radio program brought to you by Society Bites Network and the Radio Ear Network and Sarasota County Film and Entertainment Office. I'm Jeannie Corcoran, your friendly neighborhood film commissioner for Sarasota County, and I have the honor and the privilege of having the most amazing people come visit the show. Stars of all kinds of caliber, and we have a special one today. I like to say in Sarasota, the stars live among us, and this is one of our favorites, and it's Audrey Landers. Audrey, thanks for being with us.
Hi, Jeannie. Thank you. It's always great to be here.
Oh, we so appreciate your time, and you are just a very generous person with your time. I see you at charitable events, and I see you at the colleges, and I was privileged to hear a program you did that was a complete music program, and you sang just fantastically for about 2 hours, if I remember right. It was amazing, and the crowd was spellbound. Not too many people think of you as a singer.
It's so funny. Music really was my first love. That's kind of how I started in the business. I started writing songs at 11, 12. I had my first hit record at like 13. And, then my acting career took off as a soap actress as a kid and teen. And I sang on every soap I ever did, which was so wonderful. They always wrote that into the character. And then, of course, the big soap, Dallas.
Right.
And they wrote me in once again as
one of the
singer.
all-time groundbreaking pioneers of major network television soaps.
It was amazing. And the fact that they wrote me in as a singer was so much fun because I continued writing, and so I wrote all the songs that Afton, my character, sang. And that branched off to a revival of my recording career, but it took off in Europe. It was blazing. It was an amazing time, and
the volume of work. I mean, how many albums, how many awards, how many gold records, that sort of thing. It just is amazing.
My first single sold 10 million copies throughout Europe, which is kind of amazing.
Yes.
And in terms of today, you don't hear that much, you know. And then, of course, I went on to do several more albums, all gold and platinum, and I was really fortunate that I was able to write many of my hits, and my mom and I traveled and did the touring together, and it was just an amazing, fantastic time that was great while we did it, and I was very happy when I chose to stop.
It was great when you stopped, right?
It was great because I was on to the next chapter. I'm still recording, I'm still writing,
right.
But I'm not doing so much of the touring because you have a
family and you have
and so many, and producing all these other projects I'm working on, and
you're still acting, and your beauty is still on the screen.
Oh,
Didn't you recently do a Hallmark movie?
I did a really fun Hallmark movie called Love at Sea, and it was just a beautiful experience. I played a wonderful character, and then I just recently completed a film called Murder at the Mansion.
Ooh.
So we'll have a release date soon, I hope. And I'm not the murderer, okay?
Okay.
I might look like the murderer, but I am not. And so that was fun on the acting side, for sure.
Right. And will you be doing more concerts in the future, like you did at the State College of Florida? That was great
that
fun.
was fun. That was really a wonderful, with the 65-piece orchestra with the Pops. It was really fun. I hope so, but I know I don't have anything planned with them at the moment. But I do travel still to Europe, and I do my concerts, but not long, not extended trips. I'll zip in for 3 days, do 2 nights, and fly home. Right. So I really do love it, and the music, the performing is kind of like the icing on the cake. I still write. I wrote the kids series, the Hug-a-Bug Club, and I wrote the 250 original songs in the whole series in the 50 half hours. So it was quite, it was intense and wonderful.
Right. I often say on this show that we have writers and producers and directors and actors, and we have people in theater and people in film and video and radio and music and so on and so forth.
Blah, 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 blah.
Right. But
it's everything.
But we don't get a whole lot of people that are really multimedia, powerhouses. You hear about people, they're a triple threat. They act and they sing and they dance.
Yeah.
Well, you're kind of quadruple, quintuple. I mean, you design jewelry, you do children's. It's pretty amazing.
It is. It's been. You know what? I have this thing that if a person is creative, quite often they can just redirect that creativity in many areas. And look, everything takes time, and that's always been my enemy because there are so many things I want to do. And like my mom, I mean, we've been partners in so many different ventures in the clothing line and film production, and she was my manager. And I mean, it just goes on and on and on. So there are so many different places to explore, but they actually all do converge because they all fall under that umbrella of being creative.
It's true. It's true. Mm-hmm. But it does take a certain type of personality to have that. They used to call it a jack of all trades or a Jill of all trades, and do so well at them, because sometimes people dilute their abilities and they end up just having a lot of weak efforts. But all of yours have been so strong and they have endured. And
thank you.
What would you say your favorites have been?
Just to touch on what you said, I think that a lot of people do kind of dabble. And for me, that was never an option. For me, when I do something, I immerse myself 1,000%. So what some people might say, oh, this will take 5 years to do, I am so focused for such a concentrated amount of time and effort. I lack in sleep sometimes, but so that's it. But of my favorite projects, let me think.
You would be called a petite powerhouse.
Okay.
There you are.
Yeah, but I do wear tall heels, so that's the illusion.
Like your mom. Your mom
yes.
is very petite.
Yes.
Very petite.
I know. Yeah, it's all illusion.
That's right.
Gosh, you know, every big project I've done has had a special place, like Dallas, of course, because, you know, having been the #1 TV series in 110 countries while I was on the show was pretty enormous.
And they still, I remember at State College of Florida when we saw your concert with the orchestra, one of the little groups that was sitting in there, I think they were from, I want to say Germany. Or,
my fan club presidents.
It was fantastic.
They actually flew in. My fan club president from Germany flew in, the one from Netherlands, and actually one from Dallas as well. So, I mean, it was just, it's nice, and they do keep it alive.
They were so enthusiastic.
Yeah.
And, I mean, everybody enjoyed it, but they especially were just over the moon. So.
Yeah, I think Dallas fans are very, very loyal, and I'm hoping that it will be in syndication again sometime, so like a new generation can get a taste of that old series.
But you know, the old school series, they had an acting level, and they had a plotting level, and they had a serialized storytelling that kept everybody tuning back in for the next episode. I mean, you think about Game of Thrones, which is probably one of the most expensive things that's ever been made for television, and it garnered more viewers than anything, I believe, in the history of television ever. But we're in a modern day.
No, it didn't. I wish I had the statistics in front of me. It garnered more viewership in this digital age, but it didn't come close to what Dallas did, which I thought was... I mean, the numbers were staggering.
If they could just compare them,
like
technology to technology,
to 30 million or something like that. You know, it was something really...
Right. If they did that with Dallas today, if they could find a way to equate the technology of then and the limitations of its reach globally around the world, and still reach globally, and compare it to the technology and the global reach of today, and come up with an algorithm and a forum, you would easily.
Dallas still had Dallas had tens of millions more viewers than Game of Thrones. Well, it's just that there's a different standard now. I mean, there were 3 or 4 networks then.
Right.
So everybody had to watch it. Right. So the numbers are staggering. I wish somebody just brought that up to me, and I was in shock because they say, "Oh, Game of Thrones," but it has not.
Got to talk apples to apples and oranges to oranges. It's like when you look at sports statistics, and you'll say, "Oh, well, you know, Babe Ruth, but his record was broken by yada yada yada." Well, wait a minute. Let's back up. How many more games did they play? How much more sports medicine and enhancements and training do they do differently now that they did back in the 19 whatever? You have to compare apples and oranges to oranges.
Yeah, it's hard to do though. Everything is so vastly changing.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, I know for a fact that.
But Dallas was fun, and then they tried to reboot it, and I was part of that, and that was fun playing my same character all grown up and having grown up daughter. You know, it was a very interesting storyline, and it was disappointing that it didn't take off. But I think that's partly because the original viewers weren't that internet savvy,
right?
So maybe
they just loved all of you as the original characters. Maybe, they have a resistance to seeing a new iteration.
Absolutely, I'm looking up.
It's like Star Trek. I mean, when Star Trek has changed into different eras, whether it was the original with the kitsch and the humor and Spock and so forth, and then they switched to Star Trek Generations with an entirely different attitude, an entirely different cast. Wonderful. I mean, all of them were. And then there was, Star Trek this and Star Trek Voyager and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And after a while, fans gravitated out to the one that they loved. And the others they might watch once in a while, but the one that they love, they go back and they still watch it. Just like I'm sure that Dallas is probably airing somewhere you're not even aware of around the world.
Sure, yeah.
I was in London one time, and this was just a couple of years ago, and I switched. It was late night. I was sleepless, and I switched on the TV, and there was Miami Vice from the 70s, right? Yeah. And I went, really? Yeah. 40 years later, we're watching Miami Vice?
Isn't that, it's amazing.
So Dallas lives on.
Yeah, of course. And I just read that, I did the movie of A Chorus Line, and now they are doing a 10-part Netflix series based on A Chorus Line.
Oh, wow.
Which is really fascinating,
That is an enduring stage show. That is a beloved enduring stage show.
And the movie, although it didn't, the timing was a little off for movie musicals back then.
Right.
Now that's all changed.
Right, since La La Land, they kind of broke the mold again. So.
Yes, they did. And that we're developing that a movie musical. And when we spoke last, it was we were developing it as a small independent, and we've had some wonderful developments since then, and it's taken a little longer. However, we now have 2 A-list actors that are signed on, and so now the funding has moved to a whole different level, and honestly, it's a little easier
it is.
than trying to raise a smaller amount with unknown actors, and then all of a sudden we have 2 A-listers. We have a lot of interest. So it's changed, and it's been rewritten to suit each of those 2 people a little bit more. And
having seen it in its early iteration, it was pretty impressive then. So I can imagine what it is like now if you're moving
my son Daniel and I are collaborators, and he wrote all the music, and we've added new music to it, specific songs for these 2 actors. And I mean, it's been quite a beautiful journey, but because that had it was very well developed even when you had read it. We have since developed 2 more shows. One is a half-hour kind of saucy comedy, and the other one is an hour-long high-concept series, a little bit futuristic. And so
you're never slowing down.
I'm never.
I mean, you're a very young woman. You still have.
Very young.
You have many.
I think we're the same age, probably.
Well, then you are definitely.
Yes,
we're both
that's
very
what I'm
young women.
saying.
But you have many decades ahead where you're just going to keep this engine running, and
I hope so.
It's phenomenal.
I hope so. I have to take my vitamins.
That's right.
I do.
And you're living in paradise, so that helps.
Yes, but I'm on a plane an awful lot.
That's true. Tell me a little bit about how you came to Sarasota, because I remember that we talked about it over coffee one morning, I think.
Yeah.
And it was pretty interesting how the glamour and the glitz and the stardom of Hollywood and the East Coast and those markets, and yet you chose Sarasota to find your safe place, your cozy home.